All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame. Welcome to the Master Motivation Podcast. It is Wednesday, November 2nd, a little early today, 11 o'clock California time. But my guest today is Mr. David Lowe. And David has spent 40 years in the martial arts industry and started his martial arts journey in Oxford, UK. In 1982, learning Taekwondo. Eventually, he ended up teaching Japanese karate and competed at national and international levels, earning success in his specialty of Kata. As a professional instructor, he has had 6 locations during his teaching days. David has focused his attention on learning and constantly focusing on online digital marketing and teaching the skills he learns outside of our industry to school owners. He thinks this is crucial, and David now runs his new company, Marketeers, for school owners, helping them grow with online digital market opportunities. Welcome to the show, David.
Great to see you, Jason. Great to be here.
Yeah, listen, I think you might be my first guest from the UK.
Oh,
Ever.
okay. Didn't know that.
So there you go.
That's a
So you
pleasure.
got a
Yeah,
first for you. And
yeah.
real quick
Thank you,
shout
pal.
out, Dana Abbott watching again, saying howdy from Arizona, I believe. Good to see you. Let us know if you want to join the conversation and ask any questions for David. But David, let's just jump right in and get started and talk about your 40 years in the martial arts industry. How did you get started in the martial arts, and how did you get started in the martial arts?
Well, it was many years ago in Oxford, UK, and I was an apprentice doing my engineering apprenticeship. So I was only about 16 years old. So for many nowadays, that's starting late, I guess. And uh, one of the guys who was my boss at the time in the because it was I was actually learning apprenticeship was actually tool making, and I went on to make stuff for the Grand Prix teams back in the day. That was kind of like what we did work for. Anyway, there was a machine shop, and there was a couple of girls up on the shop floor who were like red belts in Taekwondo. They kick your ass type of thing. And me and this guy, his name was Ross Cooper, and we got chatting to them and said, where do you train? And they said, oh, the end of this street, actually, there's the Taekwondo school, you know. And they said, you should come down. And it took us probably about a month to pluck the courage up to go down there and
Mhm.
actually just turn up. And I use it and as a story to this day, really, because it's a great story to help people actually get involved with the martial arts. If you're actually trying to, people want to know your story.
Mhm.
So what I try and help martial arts school owners is to engage with their potential new students at that level, saying, hey, if it was me, I'd say, hey, it took me a month just to turn up because I didn't know what to expect, didn't
Mhm.
know if I could do it, probably felt I'd feel out of place. They'd look on me and think, who the hell's this kid? That type of thing. But you know what? I didn't have to worry about anything. It's kind of like and it really was like that. It
Mhm.
was one of those experiences. And the guy who was the instructor there he's grandmaster now, unfortunately, very, very ill with MS. But he was under Master Riki Ha, it was ITF Taekwondo. And Riki Ha came over from Korea 67, 68, and Master Hopwood, Ted Hopwood, his name was the teacher there. So he was a direct link to Master Ree, which was he was the founder of what was called the very first Taekwondo association in the UK, called the United Kingdom Taekwondo Association, the UKTA, and that's how I got started, 1982.
Well, it's interesting. You say
Mm.
you started at 16, and that's a little late. And you kind of look at martial arts schools across the country and maybe across the world that we start children at 3. As a matter of fact, I remember both of my children started when they were 2.5, of course, because dad's the instructor, so got to put them out there a little early. But kids are starting martial arts and all sports, really, really young. But as a 16-year-old, that's one of the hardest age groups for a lot of schools too to get people
Mm.
in, because of that feeling of I don't know if I can do it. I'm gonna be awkward, and you're not a kid, but you're not really an adult. You're just kind of like in between. So
Mm.
that's definitely an interesting thing, and I love that you talk with school owners about sharing their story about how they got started, because that really definitely helps us on how we market to our audience and how we reach out to potential students.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that anybody could and should do martial arts really at any age, and there's so many
Mm.
different benefits and reasons for training in the martial arts at all the different stages and all the different levels, and we may get to that a little bit later. But
Yeah.
let's talk more about just your experience in
Mm.
training. What got you hooked? What were some of the things that you really struggled with, maybe learning, or what did you like and what did you not like?
Mm.
That a little bit.
Well, I was a bit like, I was watching one of your interviews. I can't remember who the name of the guy was. He said it was kind of like the Bruce Lee time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Bruce Lee and David Carradine and all that stuff. Our age group. Remember that's the Kung Fu show,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember ordering these posters as a kid before I started as a kid in the national newspaper. There it was a big thing, the Bruce Lee stuff. And I ordered these posters, and I had these great big posters on the wall of my bedroom with Bruce Lee and David Carradine. Bruce Lee, from Enter the Dragon with the blood across him in the mirrors, in the room of mirrors. All that stuff. And I had that on the
Right.
wall. And I remember going into my down my garden into not a garage but the shed. We had a shed down the end of our garden. And in the newspaper was learning how to punch Bruce Lee style. I remember taking it down the garden, so I was away from everyone, and putting it down on the table in there, and just learning these punches. And I remember doing them and thinking, "Is that it? Is that?" It's kind of like, it can't be as easy as this. I wasn't a natural or anything, but I remember just remember that for some bizarre reason. Anyway, I guess the Bruce Lee thing was an influence in a sense. And I remember seeing these. We must have been driving somewhere on holiday, and I was in the car. I remember seeing these kids. We were driving through this town. I see these kids doing some martial art moves, and I remember driving past, going, "I want to do that." I want to learn that. And it wasn't long after I started, learning Taekwondo back then. And I guess that was really sort of like what the earliest memories of wanting to do martial arts, I suppose. I was going further, back when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. I was bullied at school, by one kid, because maybe a lot of martial artists suffer from that, and we go into martial arts to deal with it, the inner demons or whatever. But he made my life, this one particular kid made my life a misery when I was about that age, and I really wish I'd stood up to him, even to this day. I wish I had, because he was weak, really. And I saw some kids, couple of friends who didn't take it, and I wasn't strong enough to do that at the time. So that taught me a lot in life lessons and about bullying. And I think you have to experience it to be a good teacher in anything. It's like business at the end of the day. So yeah.
It's we talk about bullies a lot, and a lot of people think that bullying only happens when you're a kid, or bullying only happens when you're, smaller, or, whatever it be. But, there's bullying in the workplace. There's bullying, at the high school level. There's bullying, just in business. There's bullying in business. I mean, there's definitely those examples there. It's funny. I've shared this a couple times on the show, and my bully story was, I think I was probably about 4th or 5th grade, and this kid would always just kind of tease me for whatever reason, and I think it was one day I just had enough of it, right? And so all I did was stand up and chase after him, and when I chased after him, we went running around something, and he had to jump over something, and I jumped over it easily and kept going, and he jumped over it and tripped and fell. Well, anyway, long story short is that it got around to the school that I beat him up. So it's like that whole thing of like, I didn't even have to get in a fight or stand up to him per se. It was just now all this total perception from everybody else, because he came back into the class with like a bloody lip and all this, and he was crying, and I'm like, wow, that's all it took. I literally ran away from him, and but then he stopped bullying me, and some of the other kids kind of stopped the teasing. It was like, oh, okay. And then of course, when you get into martial arts, people are like, well, don't mess with that guy. It's still funny to this day. I won't mess with you because you're a martial artist. It's like,
That's right.
It's just so, that stigma that comes along with it, that's kind of funny sometimes. But
yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
you also
Yeah.
competed, right? You competed nationally, internationally. You like to do kata. That was your specialty. Talk
Yeah.
about your competition days.
Well, that kind of, it's a bit of a strange one. I did some early sort of like competitions with Taekwondo. I mean, right from yellow belt, and I remember that being, you know, the first time on the mat when this was mainly fighting. We didn't do many forms then. I remember going to one tournament. We were a team, and we were just yellow belts, and it was just like, it was more of a brawl than anything else. There was no skill involved whatsoever, and that was really sort of like a learning curve. And I got eventually quite good in the Taekwondo circuit on the fighting side. I didn't really do patterns at all, as they call them, the pattern side of it. I was introduced early days then to Jun Rhee as well, who I met later on, and you've probably met as well through Napmar and Maya, because there's that story as well. And he was a big influence on me from that side of things, from the pattern side, because of the books, the early Young books, what have you. So I like the fighting side, but then when I started, I crossed over from Taekwondo to karate early on. Probably after about 2 years, I was cross training, and I was traveling to Oxford from my hometown, which was probably about 20 miles. But in my hometown, I met a guy who was learning karate, and I was really curious about that. So I went along to train with him at that club, and it was great fun. I just loved it. And probably a year later or so, I never graded across into it, but a year later, their Japanese master came over to Oxford, because he was the head coach of Oxford University. Well, not coach, but he was like the representative. And that was Kiyoshi Yamazaki, who's you may know, may not know, who's in Anaheim. He's Fumio Demura, friend with Demura Sensei.
Okay, well, I know
Yamazaki worked on the Conan films. He was known for that. He taught Arnold the sword, basically, in Conan the Barbarian. And all that sort of, that's, and he did a lot of films. Red Sonja, Conan 2. Worked with can't remember what it was called now. Who was a $1 million man? Him. There was a series he did. He worked
Lee
with
Majors.
Lee Majors. He did stuff with him. He worked on the original Dune film with Sting, teaching him the knife. So he was really known as a weapons master, really, but he was traditional karate. And he did a seminar in Oxford, and I went along with the guys. Didn't know who he was, and we did this seminar. And long story short, he invited me and a couple of other guys to go and compete in Los Angeles, a tournament. Just invite, and us being us at the time, adventurers, we went, we'll do that. And so I was doing my engineering job, and I said to them, I've been invited out to America to do this tournament, and they said, have as long as you like, Dave. Come back. And it was amazing. You wouldn't get that now. So I went over there, competed, and stayed and lived with him for about 4 or 5 months. Lived in the dojo in Anaheim. So his dojo was in Anaheim originally, just round the back of Disneyland. And I was a living student for quite a while. Slept on the floor, all that sort of stuff. And then I came back to the UK. He graded me across from Taekwondo to karate to brown belt level. We trained 3 times a day, 6 days a week. It was just crazy. He had a place down in Irvine and up in UCLA as well as the main Honbu dojo. We trained. Master Demura was only around the corner at the time. The dojo's gone now where he was, but on the street there. Because I got a friend in the UK who's under him, and he told me the dojo's gone now. He's moved, etc. But so I did all that, came home, and then when I came home, I had the bug to start my own schools, and that's where the competition side for me really got started. And I competed regularly with Yamazaki. I'd fly to the States, compete there, compete in the UK. And I really, because I'm not that tall, so I used to, with the fighting, I was always losing because I was just getting, just out pointed, because I was too small, so because it was open weight. So I really focused on the kata and competed in that, and gradually worked my way up, I watched these guys, these champions who were in Yamazaki's system style were from Venezuela, and they were just amazing, Jason, just technically spot on, at that time. And I had videos of them, so I used to model them and try and compete with them. And eventually I worked my way up to actually do quite well in the States. I competed at the Chojan Miyagi Memorial under Higuana Sensei. It's a group he had in San Diego, and got a bronze there. which was a big thing because there was a lot of Japanese masters and students there. So I got through, did well there, got back to the UK, and then eventually became British Open champion in Kata. Against, I think the best one I ever did was against 65 black belts in our pool.
Wow.
And won that. And that was big. And that was the main one for me. But that took a sideline because my schools at the time, I'd gone professional then. I was a full-time instructor teaching karate. And I just couldn't afford to get injured all the time, or whatever. Not just do kata, but I still did fighting, etc., kumite. But yeah, and I would help my students compete, a few of them, but I just didn't have the time, or I couldn't afford to do that anymore. So that took a bit of a backseat.
Right. And that happens to us, right? As instructors and school owners. I remember the very same thing happened to me. I probably competed the most between, I don't know, 1989 to 96 ish, and I opened my school in 96, and I just remember once I opened the school and I was teaching full time and running a business, it was a hard balance for me, especially because I was young and inexperienced in the business side. Working 10, 12-hour days for no reason, and I just didn't make the time to compete anymore. I focused a lot more on allowing my students to compete at that time. So it's kind of a big shift for me. And then I got back to competition a little bit later, because I was able to build up a team that allowed me to have a little bit more freedom, which I think is super important for any school owner. But how did you make the transition? So we kind of skipped over, becoming an instructor. So when did you start teaching? How did you start teaching? Where did you start teaching right away?
Yeah, I had an influence, an instructor in the UK who was under Yamazaki as well, and he was full time. I was still doing my engineering and teach. I had two nights a week. I taught part time, around about the same time as you, pretty much. And he just said to me one day, I was fed up with what I was doing. I was doing my engineering job. Then I became a sales rep for an engineering company. And I hated it. I liked the sales side, but I just hated the job. I just wanted to do martial arts at the end of the day. And he said to me, "Why don't you just teach full time, Dave?" So I said, and I went, "Yeah, I suppose I could." So what happened was, I quit from this new job I just got. I had a company car, house, all this stuff, and I just quit. After about 8 months with this company, I said, "I've had enough. I don't want to do it anymore." And they said, "Well, you kind of look like you were fed up, Dave." I said, "Yeah." And prior to that, there was a new location that was being built, and at that time, it's a sports facility, and I was the only karate instructor there, the only martial arts school. And I made sure that I marketed properly to get enough names down for the opening night. Okay. And pretty much quit the job, bought an old car. I had about $1,000, okay, spare. And I bought this old car that I sold for even more money 18 months later to get a new one. Because it's a really long story. It's funny. I remember driving to my first full-time class, and I was holding the wheel of this old car through these woods. I remember letting go of the wheel and praying like this and going, "Please God, let there be people there." And as I let go of the wheel, the car swerved off the road. And it was like, "Bring the car back," like that. And there was about 40 or 50 people turned up. And that was kind of like a mass enrollment. I mean, it was unheard of in those days, especially in the UK. EFC wasn't even over here then. And that was the first real marketing thing to come. This was probably around about 92, 91, 92, around about then. And it really blossomed from there, the school. And then I opened another location, another area. And I got to the point where I had too much going on. I had to cut back a bit. Had plenty of students. It went really well. So, yeah. And then what happened was around about 96, 95, 96. This transitioned into the martial arts supply business, which I know you haven't asked me the question yet about.
Right. Let's get into it.
Well, I'll go into that. Yeah. What happened was I was in the Oxford area. If anybody knows the UK, Oxford is west of London, probably about 60-minute drive from London. And I was in that area, around that area. I was west of London. And I used to go to London to buy my martial arts equipment. because back then you could buy it online. Well, you couldn't buy it online. You had to ring them up, and it was in magazines and things like that, all the advertising. And probably every 2 weeks I'd drive to London to buy the gis and the belts and weapons, because we did Budō and stuff like that. And my Goju instructor, because I was learning Goju as well at the time, said to me, there's a lady selling martial arts equipment locally just outside of Oxford on this industrial estate. I went, really? Is there? We'll go there. And the reason we went there, because he'd been there and he had bought dip foam, because I was doing Goju as well as traditional karate. So you had the Wuko style fighting, but in Goju they do a thing called irikumi, which is continuous fighting. And he was using the dip foam to as protective gear and selling it as retail product. And this dip foam product was brand new at the time, because Jun Rhee had his own brand out. Remember?
I do.
And there was another one, but I can't remember what it's called. But this was Macho, right? And Macho just arrived in the UK really as a product. And she was selling it. So and pretty much just the Macho equipment. And her ex was a Taekwondo instructor, and he had started importing it to the UK. They'd split up, and she'd carried on with the distribution, and this guy just carried on with his business. So I met her, started buying the equipment. Then I started seeing her and dating her as well. And then I got more involved with the gear side, and my school started going that way, and the product started going that way, Jason. And to the point where around about 2002, I had to sold my schools, and because the business was growing so fast. And that company is called Bitomic Distribution. And we started off with Macho, then we started bringing over Century products, and it just grew and grew and grew. And we became Macho. We were Macho's biggest distributor outside the US. And I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit here, but we became Century's biggest distributor as well outside of North America, other than Canada. So we were kind of like we were $1 million account fairly quickly with Century, especially when the Wave Masters became popular jobs. We were bringing containers over every week of Wave Masters, Jason. It was nuts. But I've skipped forward a little bit, because 1999. So I was still teaching. I was growing the martial arts company. I went over to Macho to visit them. And I was there, and they said, do you want to come up to Clearwater, Dave? There's an EFC convention on. And I went, yeah, sure. And they said, and one of the sales directors there said to me, Charles Ferreira, his name was, he was the guy who went to NAPMA. Okay, this is the gear guy. I don't even remember the story. But anyway, yeah, he was the one I think caused John Graydon's downfall, other than John Graydon being John Graydon. But yeah, because he talked, I suppose, John Graydon into, or showed him that he went from Macho to NAPMA and introduced product. And that's when the problem started between Century and NAPMA. But that's another story. And anyway, I went to Clearwater and met Rob Colasanti. And he showed me, because I was still teaching, I was interested in the marketing side, and he showed me this product called NAPMA, right? The National Association of Professional Martial Artists. And I remember him talking to me about it, and I was thinking, well, yeah, I could get other martial arts school owners into this, could help us sell more products, but I wanted it for my schools, And I remember him giving me the box. We had a meeting, we talked about this stuff. I went up to my hotel room. He said, take that, this is the product, and tell me what you think, see if we can do anything. The magazine was in there, John Corcoran did the magazine at that time. Right. All that stuff. Joe Lewis is in there, all this, that palaver. Anyway, so I took the box up into, I remember sitting on my bed in my hotel room, Jason. It's like Pandora's box, when the gold light comes out. It's like that. Opening this box up, and he was like, holy crap, look at all this stuff in here.
Yeah.
The marketing material, the videos, the magazine, the posters, all that sort of stuff. And that was really the turning point from the marketing side of it. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Dana and I met there, back then. That's where I first met Dave Wall as well from Century, because that's where the Century thing happened. And Peter Kruckenhauser, the top 10 owner as well, because we started importing. So I made some good connections then, as well as Dana, my man. But We took it back to the UK and we started importing it over. Basically, I just got on the phone to martial arts school owners and just said, NAPMA, have you heard? And they go, don't know what you're talking about, Dave. There was no real marketing in the UK at the time, other than EFC had been brought over. UP hadn't arrived yet with Greg Silver, but there was a couple of guys who brought that over eventually. But it was really early days, and I knew about EFC before NAPMA because I started taking that on board and changing over some of the systems. So I remember going into my school and talking to my black belts, and I said, "This thing, it's EFC, Educational Funding Company. It's new stuff. It's the new way forward." They're going, "What is it, Dave?" I said, "I don't know what it is. I just know we got to do it." That's
right.
That was like it was, and that was the same with NAPMA. One story with NAPMA, I get on the phone to an ex-world champion Taekwondo guy, and he bought a lot of product from us because we sold dip phones. So a lot of our business was ITF Taekwondo because they're buying the dip phone and kickboxing schools. And one of the guys, I remember getting on the phone to him. His name is Mark Ogborn, and I said, "Mark, you got to see this new product I've got called NAPMA." And he said, "I'm not really interested in that stuff, Dave. I'm grammar schools, blah, 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 all this." And I said, no, it's really, really good. I said, "There's a magazine, went through it all." I used to try and sell it without asking them what they wanted. I just tried to sell the thing. They go, right. I said, this, and this. And they go, "Well, I don't want any of that." It's like, oh. So, me saying, what is it you need to make your school grow more? What can I do for you to get more students? And when they ask me, and then I'll sell them that part of it. And
that's right.
That's how you do it, really. So I said, "Well, look, there's a magazine with it called, I can't remember what it's called, Martial Arts Professional, I think it was." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, send me the magazine, Dave. Send me the magazine." I went, "Okay." So I stuck it in. I was sending loads of them out. Stuck it in an envelope, posted it off to him. 2 days later, the phone was always ringing in the place anyway because we're selling product. And it's Mark. "Dave," he said, "that magazine you just sent me." I went, "Yeah." He said, "Bloody brilliant. I've got to meet you tomorrow in Oxford." So, there
you go.
Yeah, and he went on to form one of the biggest associations in the UK based on what we gave him. I remember Tom Callis went and did a seminar for him. I brought Tom over and we did a seminar. And that's how it grew. And then NAPMA got into trouble with Century and Maya was starting. I knew Frank Silverman from the UP. I remember going up to UP seminars as well in the UK. This must have been 2000, around about then. He looked on me as the enemy because I was NAPMA and UP. I don't know why. He asked Frank this. Yeah, it's true. And we kind of like looked at each other and sort of like, and I met Barry as well. Barry ran over there and he used to come over, etc. And because I knew Frank, and Frank was involved with Century, and he was hatching this plan to start Maya against NAPMA. Frank and we were the Century distributor. Frank naturally called me and said, "Dave, we're going to be doing this thing with Dave Wall as well." And we just went, and I'd fallen out with NAPMA as well because they were trying to get us to sell their product, and we didn't want to. And they said, "Well, we're gonna pull all the business from you, all the instructors. They belong to us." I said, "No, they don't." It's kind of like we had a bit of an argument, me and John Graydon. I said, "No, you can't do that. That's my business. I'm importing it from you." And anyway, so and NAPMA eventually lost the court case with Mike Dillard and John Graydon. They had a court case. You ever heard about the court case?
I did. I've heard the stories, and it's just kind of interesting listening because I hear stories from a lot of different people, and just hearing how everything went down. As I'm listening to all the stories, and I appreciate the history, it makes me want to ask the question, why did you dive into all these different things? Because someone out there, a school owner is teaching every day, or a business owner out there is kind of doing their thing, and they're just kind of got this tunnel vision. You've obviously branched out and done several other things that most people wouldn't take that risk. What made you want to take those risks, and what made you want to branch out into the different areas that you've worked on?
Well, from the business point of view, because when NAPMA finished and I converted, I just changed everyone, and that was a real tough job to change everyone from saying, "We're not getting NAPMA anymore, you're getting Maya." They went, "Well, what's Maya?" That was the problem. But we converted everyone, did some seminars. Frank came over, and it was the business side of it. And I wasn't really involved with helping them grow. It really just took me down that road. I was interested in helping the martial arts school owners succeed. That's all I wanted to do. It was never about the money or anything like that. It was just helping them succeed and become and stay customers of ours and help them grow. And around about 2000, anyway, so around about 2004, 5, I brought in a business coach into Biotomic. This is where it really changed. Because it was nothing to do with the martial arts side. Because as a company, we'd moved 4 times. We eventually bought our own warehouse in, and I remember sitting there one day thinking, "Wow, we've got X amount of employees. We're now in business. We need some systems in place. We were kind of like winging it, and we were winging it and winning. It was always bootstrapped. There was never a loan ever, no capital, nothing. It was all our own generated. So I brought in a business coach around about, I think it was 2004, 3, 4. And he was nothing to do with the martial arts. A franchise called Action International, which is still around today. It was an Australian franchise. And we went to a seminar, myself and Ashley Edwards, who owned the company, and who was my partner. And we went to this business seminar. It was a coaching seminar about helping you grow your business through coaching. I remember sitting there with all these other businesses there. We were a martial arts company, and there was a ski company and all this other stuff there. And at the end, I went up to the guy. His name was Paul Smith. I remember him to this day. And I said, "Can you come up and see us? I think you can help us." So he came and visited us, and we employed him, and he coached me pretty much for 2 years solid, teaching me how to implement systems into the business through goal planning, through ticking boxes, box ticking exercise. I even wrote a manual on it. I've got it here still, Jason. I'll show it to you. I even wrote a manual on it for the martial. I saw the potential. I did my 2 years, and I realised I just didn't see this in the martial arts industry. I saw Natma and Maya, and I know people were doing, seminars and teaching the stuff on the floor and stuff. But there was no real business coaching through the method I could see at the time that would take you through this process of 90-day planning. So I took it and I decided to introduce it into the martial arts industry. And that there is the original PDF download 90-day coaching system by Atomic Coaching. That's the original manual that I wrote on coaching 2007, 8. That, and I actually sold that on a landing page, which was now called a funnel,
right?
Because that was unheard of as well. It was websites, and even then it was dial-up modems and stuff like that. So I introduced it into the martial arts industry. I brought in a guy who was a friend of mine and also did a little bit of martial arts, but he was coaching anyway. And I brought him in to help me. He helped me with Natma and Maya anyway. And I said, "Look, got this coaching idea. Let's do this for the martial arts industry." And we introduced a thing called 90-day coaching. And we used to bring every 90 days these school owners up to our facility. And a bit like, I suppose, the Maya Elite thing. It was a bit like that. And we ran those for quite some time. And it was a huge success.
Many of the school owners and business owners in general that I've had as guests on the show, it's one thing that's consistent is that everybody talks about having a coach, and everybody talks about having someone to help teach you systems, someone to help hold you accountable, someone to help you get to that next level. Because like I said before, some school owners and some business owners will stay in that tunnel and just ride it out, seeing the same results day in and day out, wanting different results but not doing anything different. And so anybody watching, whether it's I have a friend who just completed a bodybuilding competition, couldn't have done it without a coach. You have professional athletes that don't get out there and compete on a regular basis without a coach. Martial arts school owners, whatever it might be, getting a coach is really key to getting you to that next level and getting you outside of your comfort zone. That's really hard for us to do is to get outside of that tunnel, get outside the comfort zone and try something new. But you've done that several times over. And what was your biggest challenge when, you said you ended up closing your schools because the supply business really took off? I'd have to think that was a very difficult decision for you, because as a martial artist, you're very passionate about what you do. What were some of your thoughts, or what were the decisions. How did you make that decision?
It wasn't well. I didn't close them. I sold them
Okay.
to one of my black belts. Took them over, and so that wasn't difficult really. And they're still going to this day,
Oh, that's great.
which is great. Yeah. So that wasn't a difficult decision really. Yeah, it wasn't hard. What was the
Because
question
you had
again?
because you had the people in place is what
Yeah,
made it easier, right?
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I suppose I kind of systemized it back then a little bit, and that was from help from EFC, Nat Maya,
Hmm.
those ideas, because I was bringing people over, and I mean the very first person who came to the UK who did a seminar was Tom Callis and Jim Graydon. I brought them over, and that was
Hmm.
like the first. And then Melody Schumann came over with Andy, her ex-husband, who's ATA guy, Andy Schumann, teaching Little Ninjas. And that was really my transition from my schools to really focusing on how to help the school owners, become better businesses, because we were doing it. We hadn't done it. We were doing it in Biotomic. It was growing and growing and growing to the
Hmm.
point where when I left Biotomic, because I got divorced and etc., and I went my own way. We were probably doing around about about $5 to $6 million a year on turnover. Revenue. We had a good profit margin as well. So we pretty much done it. We were doing it. It wasn't it was done. So and to do that, it took a lot of hard work, and you had to put systems in place. And a lot of school owners now do struggle from the point of view of, I suppose the problem nowadays is, if we fast forward really, there's a lot of people trying to teach martial arts marketing or helping martial arts school owners.
Hmm.
I'm a great believer that because the martial arts is such a technical thing, you do need to have some insight into or being involved in the industry to help these guys out, unless you're teaching something specific, for example, like email marketing or something, some sort of product. But you
Hmm.
do need to understand about who the customer is, what the schools go through, their cycles of marketing, all that sort of stuff. You
Hmm.
need to understand that. And I've done that. I've run schools, I've run supply companies, and I've run a coaching business. I'm pretty qualified to. I've seen I've seen and heard it all. My what I do now. If there's a problem, I can probably, Dave, I can't charge X. Well, move to somewhere you can, or be the height. Don't be a commodity. Be an opportunity.
Hmm.
That type of thing. Create opportunities for people, not just don't just help them. Show them this is an opportunity. You can then charge more money, or you can grow your school to an exercise, or you can be freer and give yourself more time, etc. That's the way. Yeah, systems are the key. This was what Rando's saying there. This was the system. It says there 90-day coaching system.
Right.
That was the key to a lot of martial arts school owners here understanding about. There was certain pieces in there you'd go through: time management, people
Hmm.
management, systems management, all money management. All of that was in there.
Right.
And how it worked was this: we'd ask. That isn't the manual. The other manual's up there, but there's a 90-day coaching manual. Would go through 6 systems, 6 key parts to your business, and it would ask you questions. The questions never changed. It was just how important the questions were ranked for you at that time. So you would
Hmm.
go, the question would be, have you done this yet? Have you done that yet? Have you written a plan for X yet? And it was either yes or no. If you hadn't finished it, it was a no. There was no in between. It was yes or no. And at the end of the probably the 2 or 3 hours, we went through that with the instructors all the time, because I'd gone through it myself for the business. Okay,
Right.
I'd pretty much mapped it out, so I knew what I was showing them. We just changed it for the martial arts industry. And you took the top 3 things in that one subject. Say it was people, building a team. And you took the top 3 things that were most important, and you turned the page over and you put them into the goals, A, B, C, and you color coded it. So red was the top, blue was the middle, green was the bottom, or whatever. And you worked on the top one until you'd finished it. Then you worked on the next one, then the next one. You had 90 days. And if you didn't finish them, it didn't matter, because the next 90 days, you go back again and you'd bump them up. So you were methodically going through your goals. You'd written them out clearly. You've been asked the question, and then you were given the material to go and actually complete that. And that's how it works. Really did.
Right.
But this was all before online marketing. It was, it really came in. We are where I am now.
Well, and let's get to that. Let's get to that in just a second. And real quick again, thank you to Rick Rando for watching, and make sure you guys go check out his podcast, Rando Speaks. Check out his Facebook page and Instagram. Thanks for being on. And if you have any questions, Rick, please, Dana, if you're still watching, drop some questions or just drop some comments. And please share the video so more people can take a look at what we're talking about here. But you brought up something about, there's a lot of coaches out there now. There's a lot of information, right? I mean, in my opinion, there's so many. It seems like everybody is a coach, everybody is a guru, everybody has, all the answers. And so my question to you is, what advice do you give someone in finding the right coach and the right system and the right group to associate with?
Well, you've got to be open-minded enough to actually go and search them out. In the funnel, I mean, I'm a great believer in, if somebody offers you an opportunity, just see what they've got to offer. I mean, I see posts online sometimes, and they say, "Oh, these gurus had this phone call from this person. They think they're, blah blah blah." I want to know who these people are, because no one ever says on the post who these people are. Who are these people who you think are rubbish? I want to know who they are. Tell me, because I never find out. But I think from a martial arts school owner's point of view, really, you need to be. Right, here's an example. Okay. I'm a great believer in, because there's some systems that you've got, Spark, Market Muscle, all these other products out there that are designed to, they're CRMs, they're designed to manage your schools, your students. That's what they do, okay? But they can't do everything perfectly, okay? And there are other tools out there, because I spend a lot of, as you said earlier in the intro, I spend a lot of my time outside of the industry. So I see what's going on in the high-ticket coaching world, the funnel building world, the email automation world, the content creation world. A friend of mine in Spain, organically, he did $1 million last year. He's 23 years old, this kid. He knows Facebook inside out, how to optimize Facebook, whereas most martial arts school owners do not. Here's a big statement for you, bold statement. I would say 99%, Jason, of martial arts school owners, they all have a Facebook page and a personal profile, okay? But 99% of them do not know or use their Facebook page correctly. They are using it the wrong way. That's the statement. And I'm quite perfectly happy to tell you what that wrong way is.
Well, please do. And we're almost at that 45-minute mark that we talked about. So let's get into that and tell us, what are most people doing wrong?
They're talking to their students, and they shouldn't be, because the organic reach on a Facebook page is so dumbed down now, because Facebook, if you have a page, Facebook want you to, it's for ads. Okay. They're gradually changing now. They're coming around because your personal profile is being turned into a bit of they're letting you market on it now more. You go to my personal profile, you see my cover image. I'm marketing a lead magnet. Okay. I'm going after the 96% of people who want to learn more about me. I'm not going after the 4%, and that's a lot. The 4% is about 2 or 3% who are ready to sign up. And most of these companies are helping them. They're telling the martial arts school owners, put your email address. This is on a website. It will say, enter your email address to get our schedule, okay, or enter your email address to take our free trial. That's marketing to the 4%, the people who are ready. They're missing 96% of the market because they're not marketing to the organic people, the people who are going, okay, but who are you, and who are those other people down the road? So most martial arts guys, this alludes back to using your Facebook page and using your website correctly as well. From point of view of your Facebook page, you should use it to market to people who are visiting the page, because the search engines rank pages. You'll find them on Google and etc., but you won't find a profile, and you won't find Facebook groups. Why is that? That's because they don't rank. Because the Facebook page is looked as like a web page. Okay, so use it as that, and use your cover image as your marketing headline, and have a lead magnet on it. So when somebody clicks on the image, because you put click here, opens the image up, it's a post, and then you can put your actual link to your lead magnet there and data capture and give, and your lead magnet would be discover more about our school. We've written a 5-page report PDF. Just download it now and tell you all about our school. Guess what's in the report? A link to your offer. And then you can follow up with your automations. If you did that, and then on your page also talk to people visiting, because they're the ones who are going to find you. Use keywords as well. Don't put your link in your post, because Facebook don't want people to leave Facebook. So put it in the comment. So write your post, put your image, put your, then when you've posted it, in the first comment, put, here's the link to our offer. Then Facebook don't see that as taking someone away. They only see it in the post. So that'll help you. That'll help you with engagement, because Facebook, when you create a post, Facebook, if you've got 1,000 people, Facebook put them into buckets of 100 people. And when you post it, everyone thinks it goes to everybody. It doesn't. Facebook will send it to one bucket and see what the engagement is. And when they see good engagement, they go, oh, they've had some likes and things like that on there. They'll send it to another 3 and see what happens then. And then it will blow up. But if you get nothing, it's because nothing happened. They send it to 100 people and that's it. They'll go, well, no one's really bothered about this. It isn't engagement. Remember, Facebook engagement, that's what it's all about. That they won't send it to anybody else. So that's number one. Secondly, on Facebook, use a lead magnet, but also use your offer to the 4% for the people who are ready, people who are looking, because you're going to rank on Google anyway, so people will find you. So you should use low ticket offers, boost posts, promote business local in your area, spend $5 a day on it, and that will drive organic traffic to your Facebook page. But put those offers on your website as well and optimize every page for the 2 types of traffic, for the people who are ready to sign up and the ones who aren't. That's the bigger market. And outside of our industry, that's what people go after. You know, they really are going after that. And we're just not list building. I could talk about this for an hour or 2.
Well, I appreciate you diving into that a little bit. And I'm assuming that if anybody wants more information on this, that they could reach out to you. Tell us real quick a little bit more, about Budō Marketeer, wearing it right there, right? Take a couple minutes just to explain, what it is you do and how that all started.
Okay, so really, some of you, if you're into online marketing or people, my mentor is Frank Kern. Frank Kern lives in La Jolla in California. He was a bit of a surf dude back in the days. He was one of the few people to do $1 million online in 1 hour online. This is back in 2008 or 9 or whatever. He taught me how to do this stuff back then, and that was really what got me going into it. So it's what Budō Marketeers is taking all of the information I learned from him and other people like Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels, because I'm a big fan of ClickFunnels. I build sales funnels for people and lead funnels, all that sort of stuff. So what I do is I teach online marketing to school owners that is up to date. And there's no one else, Jason, in the industry that I know of who do what I do, just solely focus on that one thing. I've got clients in the US as well as over here and in Germany, guys who are in the group, and I coach one-on-one. But I teach 6 things to start with. I teach, what I was talking about is content creation is number 1, because most martial arts school owners, when I said don't talk to your students, talk to other people, but they don't know what to post, what to write about. So I teach a 12-month content creation system there. That's number 1. Then I teach what I just alluded to earlier about how to use Facebook properly, as well as, most martial arts school owners, they think that all they do is focus on Facebook ads. There's more to it than that. Facebook ads are just pouring petrol on the fire of your marketing. It'll blow up every now and again, then it'll do this, then it won't work. And they wonder why, because they haven't got the organic thing churning away in the background. So I teach that as well. I teach building lead funnels for martial arts school owners, not landing pages. These are proper funnels that actually have a process, because a funnel page is just the process. You've got to get the people in there and then follow up at the back end as well. So I teach that. There's a brand new thing out, which no one's heard of yet, really, in the market, called marketing hubs. And I've created them about a year ago, and ClickFunnels have just released this process. So if you're interested in learning about that, I can help people with that. Lead magnets, I teach. I've shot a 16 video course on how to build a lead magnet, and actually use that to drive and list build for people who are interested but not sure. The 96% want to learn more about you. I told the story about how I started earlier. That's what you want to tell in those lead magnets, and then show them what you do and tell stories, stuff like that. Talk to them about them and what you can do for them, not what you've done for others. And it's got to be that type of way. Copywriting as well. I teach that. So that's number 5. I teach how to write good sales copy, headlines, etc. And then offer creation. Alex Hormozy is the talk of the town at the moment. I've heard of him. He was at Gym Launch. He created a thing called Gym Launch. He was another funnel builder. His system about offer creation is just amazing. And most martial arts school owners don't look at their product, their classes as an offer, and creating it as something that's really what's the word? Somebody will look at it and go, "Wow, that's what I want." You've got to make it sort of like really desirable, I think is the word. So I teach those 6 things when somebody comes into my world. I see where they are first. I have a group, Budō Marketeers. It's a subscription group. Okay, so I'll plug it. It's called Budō Marketeers. It's on Facebook. If you look it up, it's $100 a month subscription, and I do a weekly call like this. We go live once a week with the group, or I do replays. I've created the group, so there's learning guides inside the group. I've got a members area as well outside of the group. I have a free Facebook group that funnels people into it as well. And I use my own Facebook personal profile to drive traffic to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's by the way, I'm learning a lot, and I love just listening to you talk about it, because this is top of mind for a lot of people in whatever business or industry you're in, is how to better utilize our online presence and how to do it the right way. But one thing that I have really focused on a lot is telling my story and who I am through my personal profile, because you're right. Facebook, your Facebook page is 100%. To me, it's like a billboard. It's a billboard that everybody drives by and everybody sees it. And if you want to talk to your students, a Facebook group to me is a much better way to do that, because it's a lot more intimate that way. But I try to use the 3 so that they kind of work together. But yeah, I highly recommend using the
here's the way to look at it. Your personal profile is you. It's authority. So it's Jason Flame personal profile, or you use the other one. I can't remember what it's called now. Public figure, but that's you. So your round picture should be a picture of you with your family or whatever, and then the the cover image, and I utilize it so it fits mobile as well. I've got the proper sizes, so when you look at it, it doesn't cut off, because Facebook will cut proper image. Yeah, well, I've got the tool now to fix it. Okay, I made it myself. So that's your authority side of it, and you should use a lead magnet there. But you should always mix stories with offers. I posted on, what's your favorite 80s film the other day? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Conan the Barbarian. I did that, or whatever. It engages with people. Then they just don't see you as trying to sell all the time. You're helping. Right. But the engagement is way better on a personal profile. Much 100%. Better. That's why most martial arts owners are not using their profile, because they think, "Oh, I'll talk to my family on there." No, you can create. I've got a custom listing there, which is just called martial arts, and I can post just to martial arts school owners on my personal profile. It's just that no one knows how to do it. Then your business page is your brand. So your logo. But the offer is pretty much the same. And you rotate your offers as well. With that content creation, rotate your offers. And then groups, it's another ball game. I just spent a whole year in a coaching group outside of our industry that is just purely focused on building Facebook groups, how to use them. I use a CRM. When you ask questions in a group, you can ask 3 questions. Okay?
Yeah, right.
But if you are, you can get an email address. You can say what's your problem, and what's another question, whatever it could be. If you don't use a piece of software, which isn't Facebook, to actually capture that information, when you go approve, Facebook lose it. And the only way to do it other than that is manually do it. and I have a piece of software where it captures and it goes into a CRM. So every single person in my group, whether it's the free group or the paid group, I know the 3 questions they ask, and I can market those guys and help them on the question that I said to them: what's your biggest problem that you want to fix now in your school?
Mm-hmm.
I have a list of questions, and I can see which one they ticked in the CRM. I don't have to manually do it. I've automated it.
That's awesome. Well, listen, thanks for sharing all of this today. It's been a pleasure just spending time with you and learning more about your history, your backstory, and what you're doing now. But anybody watching, this is your final notice and last chance to ask any questions or add anything to the conversation today. But again, David, thanks for just sharing some information with us today, and I look forward to continuing to stay connected online
Yeah,
and see what you're doing. Make sure everybody watches next week again. Usually I'm every Monday, but fitting in a couple here and there on Wednesdays and Fridays. So
yeah.
podcast has really been taking off and having a lot of fun with it, especially talking with people like David. And, we just had Eli Guzman on Monday. Next week, we got some great
That was the guy.
guests coming up as well.
That was the guy, Eli. He was talking about Bruce Lee. I remember now. That was right. Yeah, it was really
Yep.
cool. But if anybody if anybody wants help, just DM me, and I'll give them a free. I'll give them a free overview of what their thing is. I'm not a salesman. I'll just help people who want help.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, guys, that's it for today. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have a great rest of the week. Looking forward to all the holidays coming up, and looking forward to the next interview next Monday. So, David, hang out for about 60 seconds, and I'll be right back. Everybody else, have a good one, and we'll see you soon. Take care, guys.